All right. So everybody head over to okay, there you go. World Studies. And we will be looking at the agenda first. So the first thing we're going to do is finish reading Act 1 of Romeo and Juliet. And I had you all watch the scenes from the other act, or the other scenes from Act 1. And then we're going to take notes on Renaissance ideas that show up in Romeo and Juliet. So that's what I want you to do right now is I want you to either open up a Google document or get a piece of paper, because we're going to start kind of making, we're going to start writing down some of these areas that we see these Renaissance ideas popping up in Romeo and Juliet. So take a second, go grab a piece of paper and a pencil or open up a Google Doc. This is on your own. This is your note taking. And here's your heads up. Tomorrow, we're going to have a quiz over Act 1 and Act 2. And I'm going to be very clearly saying what ideas you need to be noticing. And if you're not paying attention to that, you're going to be really struggling on tomorrow's quiz. So piece of paper, Google Doc, whatever you choose. We're going to be writing down some of these ideas that we see, like individualism, individualism, secularism, humanism, romanticism. We're going to be writing down some of these big ideas that we see from the Renaissance, okay? We're going to work on the character analysis today for Act 1, and then we're going to begin reading Act 2. Also, I am offering extra credit in the way of 5 points for anyone that reads, and we're going to be reading over the next few days. Every day that you volunteer to read, I will give you extra credit because I didn't get any volunteers on Tuesday, so I'm trying to entice you a little bit. So if you are interested in reading, then go over to the Google Meet right now, go to the Google chat, and just type in there, I'm interested in reading, okay? And I'll assign you a role. I'm going to take the big role, and Miss Stockdale is going to take the other big role, so you don't have to read the big roles like Romeo and Juliet, but I'll give you little roles that you can take on, okay? So if you are interested, go over to the Google chat right now and just say, I'm interested in reading or I'm willing to read, and I'll give you one of those smaller roles, okay? Okay, so let's go and go ahead and open up your No Fear Shakespeare, and we're going to go to Act 1, Scene 5.
Jackson said he would read.
Awesome. Anybody else willing to read, let me know. Easy extra credit. Sorry, my computer's running slow to scroll up here. So,
did you post the agenda, Mr. Richard?
Yeah. Yep. Third and fourth period, the agenda's there. You might need to refresh. Maybe that's what it is. Just refresh.
No,
it's on Wednesday. You put it on Wednesday.
Oh, that'd be why.
It sure is on Wednesday, isn't it? Good catch, good catch, good catch. I am going to fix that right now. Sorry about that.
So just to clarify, while we're reading this, you want the students to be taking notes if you reemphasize something?
Yes, I will point out the Renaissance ideas, and it's not going to be a ton of notes. It'll be like 5 or 6 different spots that I'm going to be like, this is a great example of this, and we'll write that out, okay, where we see it. And
I'm interested in reading.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, so let's get to No Fear Shakespeare and find our spot.
And Jendiah.
Nice. Sorry, I should have been ready here for my computer going slow. Okay, so we are looking at Act 1, Scene 5. And that is going to be on electronic page number 73. I'm sure it's 73. Yes, page 73. If you go to the out of 302, the electronic number, page 73. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to assign some, goodness gracious. prince. Okay, that is what we saw in the kind of summarization sections. We know that Juliet has been promised to the prince. We know that Juliet's young. Okay, she's like 14 years old, so she's very young. So now this was also a different time frame because they're talking about marriage at 14. That's very young for our modern ideal. But whenever you were up higher class and we're talking royalty and stuff like that, you got married younger. So she would have been viewed older than she really is. But long story short, she's still young. And the Capulet father of Juliet has invited all these people to a party and sent his servant Peter out to talk and spread around the word to the other Capulet friends and family members to come to the party. But Romeo overhears Peter telling someone about this, and then Peter can't read. He's illiterate at this time, and Romeo helps him to read the list and sees that his love, Romeo's love, Rosalind, is on the list, and he was like, oh, I want to go and see that woman I love. Because remember, in the beginning of Act 1, he's really sad about her not like sharing his love. So this is his opportunity to go and see her and share his love with her and spark that romance. So they're going to sneak into this party, and this is a masquerade ball where they wear masks and they sneak in, and there's going to be some Montagues that sneak into this Capulet party, which is a big kind of no-no that, people are going to be upset about. But they're going to sneak in. We're going to see how Romeo first meets Juliet. Okay. So, let me write this down. Jackson is Capulet. And Miss Stockdale is going to read Juliet. I'll read Romeo and some of the other parts as we go. Okay, here we go. All right, so Peter and other serving men come forward with napkins. So they're at this ball, at this party, and Peter enters. Where's Potpan? Why isn't he helping us clear the table? He should be moving and scraping plates. And then a serving man walks up. When only one or two men have all the good manners, and even they are dirty, things are bad. Peter replies, take away the stools, the sideboards, and plates, you good friend. Save a piece of marzipan. And if you love me, have the porter let Susan Grindstone and Nell, Antony, and Potpan. So they're trying to get the party ready, and that's just what they're talking about. They're talking about this. Yes, boy, I'm ready. They're looking for you in the great chamber. We can't be in two places at once, both here and there. Cheers, boys. Be quick for a while and let one who lives the longest take everything. Peter and the serving men exit. Capulet enters with cousin Tybalt, Lady Capulet, Juliet, and other members of the house. They meet Romeo, Benvolio, Mercutio, and other guests and maskers. So the party has begun.
Welcome, gentlemen. The ladies who don't have corns on their toes will dance with you. Hey, my ladies, which of you will refuse to dance now? Whichever of you acts shy. Well, I'll swear she has corns. Does that hit close to home? Welcome, gentlemen. There was a time when I could wear a mask over my eyes and charm a lady by whispering a story in her ear. That time is gone, gone, gone. You are welcome, gentlemen. Come on, musicians, play music. Music plays and they dance. Make room in the hall, make room in the hall. Shake a leg, girls. More light, you rascals. Flip over the tables and get them out of the way. And put the fire out. It's getting too hot in here. Hey, my men, this unaccepted fun feels good. No, sit down, my good Capulet's cousin. You and I are too old to dance. How long is it now since you and I last wore masks at a party like this?
I swear it must have been 30 years.
What, man? It's not that long. It's not that long. It's been since Lusitan's wedding. Let the years fly by as fast as they like. It's only been 25 years since they wore masks.
It's been longer. It's been longer. Lucicio's son is older than that, sir. He's 30 years old.
Are you really going to tell me that? His son was a minor only 2 years ago.
All right, Romeo, speaking to a servant man, away from this conversation. Who's the girl on the arm of that lucky knight over there? I don't know, sir. Oh, she shows the torches how to burn bright. So he notices Juliet for the first time, okay? So he says, oh, she shows the torches how to burn bright. She stands out against the darkness like a jeweled earring hanging against the cheek of an African. Her beauty is too good for this world. She's too beautiful to die and be buried. She outshines the other women like a white dove in the middle of a flock of crows. When this dance is over, I'll see where she stands, and then I'll touch her hand with my rough and ugly one. Did my heart ever love anyone before this moment? My eyes were liars. Then, because I never saw true beauty before tonight.
I can tell by this man is a Montague. To his page, get my sword, boy. What does this peasant dare to come here, with his face covered by a mask, to sneer at and scorn our celebration? Now, by the honor of our family, I do not consider it a crime to kill him.
So Tybalt, out of nowhere, sees or hears Romeo's voice, and you can see Tybalt is angry. Okay, so he's like, grab your swords. Like, this Montague is here. We're going to fight him. Okay, and then Capulet says,
Why? What's going on here, nephew? Why are you acting so angry?
Uncle, this man is a Montague, our enemy. He's a scoundrel who's come here out of spite to mock our party.
It is young Romeo.
That's him, the villain Romeo.
Calm down, gentle cousin. Leave him alone. He cries himself like a dignified gentleman. And to tell you the truth, he has a reputation throughout Verona as a virtuous and well-behaved young man. I wouldn't insult him in my own house for all the wealth in this town. So calm down. Just ignore him. That's what I want. If you respect my wishes, you look nice and stop frowning, because that's not the way you should behave at a feast.
And y'all will notice that Tybalt is always a hothead. He's always ready to fight.
yes.
It's the right way to act when a villain like him shows up. I won't tolerate him.
You will tolerate him. What, little man? I say you will. What the? I am the boss. Here are you. What the? You won't tolerate him. God help me. You'll start a riot among my guests. There will be chaos. It'll be your fault. You'll be the rebel rouser.
But, Uncle, we're being disrespected.
Go on. You're an insult, little boy. So that how it is really. This stupidity will come back to bite you. I know what I'll do. You have to contradict me, do you? I'll teach you a lesson. Well done, my dear guest. You're a punk. Get away. Keep your mouth shut, or else. More light. To Tybalt, you should be ashamed. I'll shut you up. Keep having fun, my dear guest.
The combination of forced patience and pure rage is making my body tremble. I'll leave here now, but Romeo's prank, which seems to sweet to him now, will turn bitter to him later.
Okay, so this is something I want you all to write down. Okay, this is a note that you should take. You should write that Tybalt is a hothead, easily angered. Okay, and who does he vow basically to get back at? Somebody let me know. Who is he vowing to get back at? Romeo, for this prank, for him insulting him by joining his party. So Tybalt, explain who Tybalt is, that he's angry and he's a hothead, and that he is going to get back at Romeo. And what does he call Romeo whenever he first sees him? He's a what?
A villain.
A villain. Yeah, he's a villain for coming to our party and trying to ruin it. Okay? That's a big character that we need to remember because he's going to come back later and we're going to find out what happens. All right, so now the scene shifts over to Romeo and Juliet. So Romeo has still been focusing on Juliet, this beautiful girl that he's seen, okay? And Romeo will taking Juliet's hand. Your hand is like a holy place that my hand is unworthy to visit. If you're offended by the touch of my hand, my two lips are standing here like blushing pilgrims, ready to make things better with a kiss.
Good pilgrim, you don't give your hand enough credit. By holding my hand, you show polite devotion. After all, pilgrims touch the hands of statues of saints. Holding one palm against another is like a kiss.
Don't saints and pilgrims have lips too?
Yes, pilgrim, they have lips that they're supposed to pray with.
Well then, saint, let lips do what hands do. I'm praying for you to kiss me. Please grant my prayer, for my faith doesn't turn to despair.
Saints don't move even when they grant prayers.
Then don't move while I act out my prayer. He kisses her. Now my sin has been taken from my lips by yours.
Then do my lips now have the sin they took from yours?
Sin from my lips, you encourage crime with your sweetness. Give me my sin back. They kiss again. Sorry.
You kiss like you studied how.
Madame, your mother, nurse.
Madame, your mother wants to talk to you.
Juliet moves away. Who is her mother?
Indeed, young man. Her mother is the lady of the house. She is a good, wise, and virtuous lady. I nursed her daughter, whom you were just talking to. Let me tell you, the man who marries her will become very wealthy.
To himself, she is a Capulet? Oh, this heavy price to pay. My life is in the hands of my enemy. Benvolio, come on, let's go. Right when things are the most fun is the best time to leave. Yes, but I'm afraid I'm in more trouble than ever.
No, gentlemen, don't get ready to go now. We have a little dessert coming. They whisper in his ears. Is that really true? Well then, I thank you both. I thank you, honest gentlemen. Good night. Bring more torches over here. Come on, let's all get to bed. To his cousin. Ah, my man, I swear it's getting late. I'm going to get some rest.
All right, so Romeo and Juliet, this is the first time they've met at this party, and they kind of lock eyes, and they're kind of like locking eyes across, and then Romeo approaches her, and within the first few moments of meeting them, they kiss. So you can see the audience is noticing this is a very rushed, young love that is kind of obviously rushing into things and very romanticized and kind of very focused on themselves and not realizing what's going on around them. And we're going to start seeing some of these ideas popping up. All right, so Juliet.
Come over here, nurse. Who is that gentleman?
He is the son of here?
An heir.
An heir of old
Tiberio.
Tiberio.
Who's the one who's going out the door right now?
Well, that one I think is young
Petruchio.
Petruchio.
Who's the one falling over there? The one who wouldn't dance?
I don't know his name.
Go ask. If he's married, I think I'll die rather than marry anyone else.
His name is Romeo. He's a Montague. He is the only son of your worst enemy.
The only man I love is the son of the only man I hate. I saw him too early without knowing who he was, and I found out who he was too late. Love is a monster for making me fall in love with my worst enemy.
What's this? What's this?
Just a rhyme I learned from somebody I danced with at the party. Somebody calls Juliet off stage.
Right away, right away. Come, let's go. The strangers are all gone.
They exit. All right, so that is the end of the first act. So Romeo and Juliet have met, and they immediately kind of to themselves are saying that they have fallen in love. So very exaggerated, very quick, very kind of this big leap into love, and kind of this big change in their lives, okay, and realizing one another, okay. And this would lean a little bit toward humanism, okay, and this idea that they're learning and they're grabbing this knowledge of someone out there that they love. And we're going to see that in a second. You don't have to write anything down on that just yet, but we're going to see that in a second, okay? All right, so let's go to Act 2. And I'm going to read our prologue. So each act has a prologue that kind of introduces this section of the play. Just like Act 1 had the prologue for the play, Act 2 has this prologue. And the chorus on stage would come out and kind of sing this or say this to the audience, and this is what they would inform. They would say, "Now Romeo's old feelings of desire are dying, and a new desire is eager to take their place. Romeo groaned for the beautiful Rosalind and said he would die for her. But compared with tender Juliet, Rosalind doesn't seem beautiful now." So you can see how quickly Romeo's ideas of love are changing, okay? So again, it shows kind of his naivety, his young nature, and it's kind of like this humorous, like just quick change. Now someone loves Romeo and he loves again, both of them falling for each other's good looks. But he has to make his speeches of love to a woman who's supposed to be his enemy. And she's been hooked by someone she should fear. Because he's an enemy, Romeo has no chance to see Juliet and say the things a lover normally says. And Juliet's just as much in love as he, but she has even less opportunity to meet her lover. But love gives them power, and time gives them the chance to meet, sweetening the extreme danger with intense pleasure. Okay, so that last line, I'm going to read it again. It's one of the Renaissance ideas that we've seen. It says, "But love gives them power, and time gives them the chance to meet again, sweetening the extreme danger with intense pleasure." So this is looking at the idea that in our lives that we should go for these things that would give us intense pleasure, like love, okay? And this is a very secular idea, okay? So in your notes, write down secular. So SECULAR. And if you remember from our Kim chart, and I know it's been a few weeks now, but secularism was this idea that came up in the Renaissance where people were turning away from, or not turning away from, but looking at pleasures they can get in the world that aren't involved in the church, okay? And so this sweetening the extreme danger with intense pleasure is this look at secularism, this focus on worldly pleasures, okay? And obviously this is talking about their love of, physical love and emotional love that they have with each other, okay? So sweetening the extreme danger with intense pleasure is this secularism, okay? This would probably have kind of had the audience kind of like, oh, like extreme pleasure, like, it's kind of a exciting thing and kind of a out of the ordinary thing that they would have been talking about, okay?
Kind of scandalous.
Kind of scandalous. It's a good way to say it. Thank you. Kind of scandalous. And you can see how things have changed today. Just saying intense pleasure doesn't really mean much to us today, but back then it would be scandalous and kind of like this idea of secularism, okay? So make sure you wrote that down. All right, so this next scene is Act 2, Scene 1. If Miss Stockdale, you're going to be Benvolio, and I will be Mercutio, okay? Now, Benvolio and Mercutio, so we've had this intense, like, kind of angry scene with Tybalt, and then we had this, like, intense love scene with Romeo and Juliet. So Benvolio and Mercutio are going to come out, and they're more light, okay? And they're more playful, and you'll hear that, and they're playful. And we're going to hear some more kind of scandalous, kind of like rude talk from these two. So caution, they're going to talk about sex. It's nothing terrible, but there is some jokes going to be made. So they've left the party and they're walking home, and Romeo enters alone. Can I go away while my heart stays here? I have to go back to where my heart is. And Romeo moves away and kind of goes into the bushes and leaves. And Benvolio and Mercutio enter the street scene and begin to talk.
Oh, sorry.
You're
Romeo, my cousin, Romeo.
Ah, he's a smart boy. I bet he slipped away and went home to bed.
He ran this way and jumped over this orchard wall. Call to him, Mercutio.
I'll conjure him if I were summoning a spirit. Romeo, madman, passion, lover, show yourself in the form of a sigh. Speak one rhyme and I'll be satisfied. Just cry out, oh me. Just say love and dove. Just say one lovely word to my good friend Venus. Just say the nickname of her blind son Cupid, the one who shot arrows so well in the old story. Romeo doesn't hear me. He doesn't stir. He doesn't move. The silly ape is dead, but I must make him appear. I summon you by Rosalind's bright eyes, by her high forehead, her red lips, by her fine feet, by her straight legs and her trembling thighs, and by the regions right next to her thighs. In the name of all these things, I command you to appear before us in your true form.
If he hears you, you'll make him angry.
What I'm saying can't anger him. He would be angry if I summoned a strange spirit for her to have sex with. That's what would anger him. The things I'm saying are fair and honest. All I'm doing is saying the same of the women he loves to lure him out of the darkness.
Come on, he's hidden behind these trees to keep the night company. His love is blind, so it belongs in the dark.
If love is blind, it can't hit the target. Now he'll sit under a medlar tree and wish his mistress were one of those fruits that he can look like female genitalia. Oh, Romeo, I wish she were an open arse, and you a popper and pear to popper in. Good night, Romeo. I'll go to my little trundle bed. This open field is too cold and place for me to sleep. To Benvolio, come on, should we go?
Let's go. There's no point in looking for him if he doesn't want to be found.
So Mercutio is clearly a comedic character, and he's making these really scandalous comments about Romeo and how he's fallen in silly love without ever knowing he's fallen in love with with Juliet in this scene. Okay, so Mercutio, whenever we go look at our analysis of our characters, is clearly a comedic, silly, kind of rude character that's kind of scandalous and strange. And Benvolio is like Mercutio in that way, but he's a little bit more held back and not as intense. And then we skip over, we go back to Romeo and Juliet in scene 2. So scene 1's actually very short. And now we go over to scene 2, act 2, scene 2. And this is the famous balcony scene. Okay, you've probably seen this kind of made fun of or satirized in other shows and things like that. If you haven't, that's okay. But this is the famous scene where Romeo and Juliet's on a balcony and Romeo's down below and hiding in the bushes, and they begin talking. So this is that famous scene. All right, so Romeo returns. Romeo, it's easy for someone to joke about scars if they've never been cut. Juliet, because he overheard what they were talking about, and he's kind of scoffing at what they said. It's easy to talk about that if they've never been in love. So Romeo's kind of this, aggravated. But then he sees Juliet enters the balcony. But wait, what's that light in the window over there? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Rise up, beautiful sun, and kill the jealous moon. The moon is already sick and pale with grief because you, Juliet, her maid, are more beautiful than she. Don't be her maid because she is jealous. Virginity makes you look sick and green. Only fools hold on to their virginity. Let it go. Oh, there's my lady. Oh, it is my love. Oh, I wish she knew how much I love her. She's talking, but she's not saying anything. So what? Her eyes are saying something. I will answer them. I am too bold. She's not talking to me. Two of the brightest stars in the whole sky had to go away on business, and they're asking her eyes to twinkle in their place until they return? What if her eyes were in the sky and the stars were in her head? The brightness of her cheeks would outshine the stars the way the sun outshines a lamp. If her eyes were in the night sky, they should shine so brightly through space that birds would start singing. Thinking her light was the light of day. Look how she leans her hand on her cheek. Oh, I wish I was the glove on that hand so I could touch that cheek.
Oh my.
To himself, still hiding, Juliet has not seen him. He says, she speaks. Oh, she speaks again, bright angel. You are as glorious as an angel tonight. You shine above me like a winged messenger from heaven who makes mortal men fall on their backs to look up at the sky, watching the angel walking on the clouds and sailing on the air.
Not knowing Romeo hears her. Oh, Romeo, Romeo, why do you have to be Romeo? Forget about your father and change your name, or else, if you won't change your name, just swear you love me and I'll stop being a Capulet.
Should I listen for more, or should I speak now?
It's only your name that's my enemy. You'd still be yourself even if you stopped being a Montague. What's a Montague anyway? It isn't a hand, a foot, an arm, a face, or any other part of a man. Oh, be some other name. What does a name mean? The thing we call a rose would smell just as sweet if we called it by any other name. Romeo would be just as perfect even if he wasn't called Romeo. Romeo, lose your name, trade in your name, which really has nothing to do with you, and take all of me in exchange.
All right, so let's make a note here. We start to see growing in this scene individualism. Okay? So go in your notes and write Act 2, Scene 2, individualism. Because what does Juliet say in this moment that would lean toward individualism?
Because he pretty much hates him.
Say it one more time.
Does he pretty much hates Romeo?
She does not hate Romeo. She loves Romeo. What does she hate about Romeo?
His name.
His name. And she says that a name doesn't matter. Really, and she says, trade in your name, which really has nothing to do with you, and take all of me in exchange. So she says, walk away from your connections and focus on just me and you. So there's this like individualistic idea in this scene. We're going to see more and more of this where they're saying, I don't care about our families. I don't care about the history. I don't care about all of that. We need to focus on ourselves because that's what's most important. All right. Romeo says to Juliet, I trust your words. Just call me your love and I will take a new name. From now on, I will never be Romeo again.
Who are you? Why do you hide in the darkness and listen to my private thoughts?
I don't know how to tell you who I am by telling you a name. I hate my name, dear saint, because my name is your enemy. If I had it written down, I would tear it up the paper.
I haven't heard you say 100 words yet, but I recognize the sound of your voice. Aren't you Romeo? And aren't you a Montague?
I am neither of those things if you dislike them.
Tell me, how did you get in here? And why did you come? The orchard walls are high and it's hard to climb over them. If any of my relatives find you here, they'll kill you because of who you are.
I flew over these walls with the light wings of love. Stone walls can't keep love out. Whatever a man in love can possibly do, his love will make him try to do it. Therefore, your relatives are no obstacle.
If they see you, they'll murder you.
Alas, one angry look from you would be worse than 20 of your relatives with swords. Just look at me kindly, and I'm invincible against their hatred. Okay, let's pause there. We got another thing that's popping up. That's another Renaissance idea. In these last couple of lines, Romeo is saying, I flew over those walls. I'm invincible against their hatred. He's saying he can do anything because he's learned of his new love. And what is that idea from the Renaissance? I'm going to throw this out to y'all. What's that idea from the Renaissance where with knowledge or with learning or new inspiration. Humans can do anything. What do we call that? Oh, I got someone in here that just said humanism. Very good. So we see humanism. And this is in the way. So write this in your note. Humanism in Act 2, Scene 2. Because Romeo is saying that with love, with that knowledge of love, there are no obstacles. Not these walls, not your family. We're invincible against them because of our love. Okay, so there's this idea of humanism. Okay, so I'll give you a second to write that down. I know I said a lot there. And the big thing you want to write down is humanism. So that's Humanism, humanism. And then you want to put that Romeo believes that his new love makes him invincible. And there are no obstacles. Okay? So this idea that with their new learned love, they can do anything. And they're unstoppable. So we've seen secularism, we've seen individualism, we've seen humanism. Let's keep going, okay? I'd give anything.
Oh, I'd give anything to keep them from seeing you here.
The darkness will hide me from them. And if you don't love me, let them find me here. I'd rather they killed me than to have to live without your love.
Who told you how to get here below my bedroom?
Love showed me the way. The same thing that made me look for you in the first place. Love told me what to do, and I let love borrow my eyes. I'm not a sailor, but if you were across the farthest sea, I would risk everything to gain you.
You can't see my face because it's dark out. Otherwise, you'd see me blushing about the things you've heard me say tonight. I'd be happy to keep up good manners and deny the things I said, but forget about good manners. Do you love me? I know you'll say yes, and I'll believe you. But if you swear you love me, you might turn out to be lying. They say love laughs when lovers lie to each other. Oh, Romeo, if you really love me, say it truly. Or if you think it's too easy and quick to win my heart, I'll frown and play hard to get, as long as that will make you try to win me. But otherwise, I wouldn't act that way for anything. In truth, handsome Montague, I like you too much. So you may think my behavior is loose, but trust me, gentlemen, I prove myself more faithful than girls who act coy and play hard to get. I should have been more standoffish, I confess. But you overheard me talking about the love in my heart when I didn't know you were there. So excuse me. And do not assume that because you made me love you so easily, my love isn't serious.
Lady, I swear by the sacred moon above, the moon that paints the tops of the fruit trees with silver.
Oh, swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon that monthly changes inner circle orb. Oh, sorry. Don't swear by the moon. The moon's always changing. Every month its position in the sky shifts. I don't want you to turn out to be that inconsistent too.
All right, so this is a big moment here. Whenever he swears by the moon, this is kind of alluding to the changing positions of love, okay? So let's write this in our notes as well, okay? So Romeo swears to the moon, but that's kind of mistelling because Juliet says, don't swear by the moon. Because it changes, it shifts, it's not consistent, okay? So make note of that really quick.
Repeat what that note should be again.
Sorry. So Romeo swears by the moon. And Juliet says, do not swear by the moon because it is always changing. Okay, and this hints at how love can be inconsistent. Okay, so she's basically saying, I don't want it to be inconsistent because that's what Romeo has done in the past. Okay, like with Rosalind, like he was like the moon in the fact that he changed in one night from loving Rosalind to loving Juliet. So this is kind of a challenge to him growing up and not being a silly boy that just falls in love so easily. So he says, what should I swear by?
Oh, don't swear it at all. But if you have to swear, swear by your wonderful self, which is the God I worship like an idol, and then I'll believe you.
If my heart's dear love?
Well, don't swear. Although you bring me joy, I can't take joy in this exchange of promises tonight. It's too crazy. We haven't done enough thinking. It's too sudden. It's too much like lightning, which flashes and then disappears before you can say it's lightning. My sweet good night. Our love, which right now is like a flower bud in the summer air, may turn out to be a beautiful flower by the next time we meet. I hope you enjoy the same sweet peace and rest I feel in my heart.
All right, so this is also big because Juliet is being the more mature person here. And this will be a theme throughout Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, is that Juliet almost, in many occasions, although she's only 14, very young, is very smart, okay, and actually more mature. She says, oh, wait, we need to slow down. We need to stop. We need to end this. And we're going to see that as a theme throughout. Like she's more mature than her family members at times. She's more mature than Romeo, making better choices. So not just something you need to write down right now, but something to be paying attention to as her character, okay? And then Romeo continues to say, oh, are you going to leave me so unsatisfied?
What satisfaction could you possibly have tonight?
I would be satisfied if we made each other a true promise of love.
I pledged my love to you before you asked me to. Yet I wish I could take that promise back so I had it to give again.
You would take it back? Why would you do that to my love?
Only to be generous and give it to you once more. But I'm wishing for something I already have. My generosity to you is as limitless as the sea, and my love is as deep. The more love I give you, the more I have. Both loves are infinite. The nurse calls from off stage. I hear a noise inside, dear love. Goodbye. Just a minute, good nurse. Sweet Montague, be true. Stay here for a moment. I'll come back.
Oh, blessed, blessed night. Because it's dark out, I'm afraid all this is just a dream, too sweet to be real.
3 words, dear Romeo, and then it's good night for real. If your intentions as a lover are truly honorable and you want to marry me, send me word tomorrow. I'll send a messenger to you, and you can pass on a message telling me where and when we'll be married. I'll lay all my fortunes at your feet and follow you, my lord, all over the world.
The nurse off stage, Madame.
I'll be right there, to Romeo. But if you don't have honorable intentions, I beg you.
Madame.
All right, I'm coming. I beg you to stop trying for me and leave me to my sadness. Tomorrow I'll send the messenger.
My soul depends on it.
1,000 times good night.
Leaving you is 1,000 times worse than being near you. A lover goes toward his beloved as enthusiastically as a schoolboy leaving his books, but when he leaves his girlfriend, he feels as miserable as a schoolboy on his way to school. Romeo starts to leave. Juliet returns on her balcony.
Hissed, Romeo hissed. Oh, I wish I could make a falconer's call so I could bring my little falcon back again. I'm trapped in my family's house, so I must be quiet. Otherwise, I would rip open the cave where Echo sleeps. I would make her repeat his name until my voice grew more hoarse than mine by repeating, my Romeo.
My soul is calling out my name. The sound of lovers calling each other's names through the night is silver sweet. It's the sweetest sound a lover's ever heard.
Romeo.
My baby hawk?
So that's alluding back to the falconers, if you
Yes.
didn't know what a falconer was, okay? They're the people that, like, catch the birds on their hand. What time tomorrow should I send a messenger to you?
By 9 o'clock.
I won't fail. From now until then seems like 20 years. I have forgotten why I called you back.
Let me stand here until you remember your reason.
I'll forget it, and you'll have to stand there forever. I'll only remember how much I love your company.
I'll keep standing here, even if you keep forgetting. I'll forget that I have any home besides the spot right here.
It's almost morning. I want to make you go, but I don't want to let you go as far as a spoiled child lets his pet bird go. He lets the little bird hop a little from his hand and then yanks him back by a string.
I wish I was your bird.
My sweet, so do I, but I would kill you by petting you too much. Good night, good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I'll say good night until tonight becomes tomorrow.
All right. And then Romeo, I hope you sleep peacefully. I wish I were asleep in peace so I could spend the night with you. Now I'll go to see my priest to ask for help and tell him about my good luck. So we see, we probably find it humorous. I even laughed out, whenever he said baby hawk. I forgot he called her baby hawk. But it's a very young love, and Juliet seems to be the one saying we need to slow down, push away. But the big idea here is that we see Shakespeare in these young characters that are not supposed to be together, overcoming this through these big Renaissance ideas of secularism, humanism, individualism. We see this kind of ripening in this scene. So it's a very important scene for that. Okay. All right, let's head back over to our echo. And then we're going to go to number 3. We kind of skipped number 3 because I thought, well, let's just keep reading. We had good rhythm going. And let's look at our character analysis assignment. Okay. Let's look at our character analysis assignment, get that started. And if you go ahead and open up that template and submit that template. And that template should look like this. Giving everybody a chance to open up that template. You just click on that link. I'm going to make a copy of this so that it's not editing y'all's.
You all know that you can split your screen so you can pop up the document on one side and the Google Meet on the other so you can see both. If you hit Control and both of the brackets next to the P on the keyboard, it will split your screen and you can have the Google Meet on one side and your new document on the other. So you can actually see what's going on.
Thank you, Ms. Stockdale. I always wondered if there was a way to do that. I'm glad you knew that. That's awesome. All right, so we're going to scroll down to Act 1. And at the top, we see all our listed characters. But you want to scroll down to where it says Act 1. And essentially, we have our different, spelled wrong, sorry, our different actors or characters. And we're going to give a character description to each of these. And then we're going to go and find quotes for these characters, okay? We're not going to get to the balcony scene assignment. We'll do that first thing tomorrow. I just want you to have plenty of time to do this. So what you're going to do is you're going to give a character description to each of the characters, okay? And you're going to basically give me let's shoot for a couple of bullets or a couple of sentences for each character from Act 1. And I know we jumped into Act 2, but we're kind of thinking about Act 1. If you include things from what we've discussed in Act 2 or read, that's okay. I'm not going to count you off or anything like that. But we're looking at 4 main characters, okay? Romeo, Benvolio, Tybalt, and Juliet, okay? So Romeo obviously is, tell me about what happens to him in Act 1. So he's fallen out of love. And I'm going to give you key words here, and then I'm going to have you fill in the rest, okay? So tell me about how did he feel about Rosalind. Tell me about how he felt about Rosalind. And then what mood was he in Act 1? Was he happy, sad, depressed, excited, angry? What was going on? And then finally, tell me what Romeo thought of love. So really focus on kind of how he felt about Rosalind. Tell me about what his mood was. And then what did Romeo think about love in Act 1? Okay? So obviously he was heartbroken by Rosalind. He was sad because of that. And then he thought that love was almost this terrible thing that tore you apart and never really gave you a chance in Act 1. So explain that, okay? So in the second one, Benvolio, we can be a little bit shorter, but he is the peacekeeper, okay? Tell me how he's the peacekeeper, okay? And that is in, I'm going to say that's in scene 1, okay? So he's the peacekeeper in scene 1. And how does he try to keep the peace? Okay, what is he doing to try to stop them from fighting? Okay, tell me about that. And then also in scene 1, he approaches Romeo and tries to kind of find out what's going on with Romeo. So how is he trying to keep peace with Romeo and keep peace with the Montagues and Capulets? So tell me about how he is the peacekeeper. And then Tybalt, tell me about how Tybalt is the hothead, the troublemaker. Okay. And then finally, tell me a little bit about Juliet. We didn't get to see a ton of Juliet in Act 1, but you can tell me how she is young and she is promised to the prince. Good. And then I want you to go over and I want you to find quotes. For this first part, let's not do 3 quotes. Let's do 1 quote for each. I know I've pushed the time here. We only got about 20 minutes left in class. So do 1 quote for each character, okay? I know that at the top it says 3. So I'm actually going to change that on the actual document, but you've opened it, so you can change it to 1 quote for each of those. And if you are looking in the document, you just copy and paste it. Or if you remember the quote, you can kind of explain what he says, okay? Or she says. All right, so that's what I'm going to leave you with to work on. And I'll leave this up on the Google Meet, so if you're still writing down what I wrote down, it is there. But if you have any questions, we still have about 20 minutes left in class, so plenty of time to do this. We're going to, the last thing on the agenda, which is the analysis or the reflection on the balcony scene, we will do that tomorrow, okay? Just to make sure you have plenty of time to do this today. All right, thank you for those who read, and I'll make sure to put that extra credit in for you. Otherwise, you are welcome to leave the Google Meet if you don't have any questions.